drop it down. That's what I get saying, drop it down. Excuse us, we'll be right there.
Me again. Thank you, choir. Enjoyed that.
Amen.
I went ahead and shed one hindrance. I said last Sunday, that bothers you, on my email address to email me your complaints to brichardson843@yahoo.com. I don't check that email anymore, so send it to me. No, it's not BR529. That was already two. But if you have your scriptures this morning, I want you to turn with us to Luke's Gospel. Luke's Gospel, chapter 8. Luke's Gospel, chapter 8, very familiar scripture to us as Bible readers this morning. And as I caution you every time when we open God's Word to something that we tend as church members and church goers for a good long period of time, say, oh, I've heard this story before. Don't shut me off just yet. Now, I'm probably not going to tell you nothing for your seasoned Christians that you don't already know. I might not be telling you anything, nothing new. There's so many things that I know in God's Word that I don't do.
Yeah, go ahead.
So sometimes it's good just to remind us of what we need to be doing.
Amen.
And what we need to remember where we come from.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah.
We're going to be about something that's been sung about. There's been poems written about it. There's been Bible studies done on it several times. Touching the hem of his garment, but not just the act, but the woman that was part of this.
Yeah.
Very wonderful story. We see in this word a woman of desperation, a woman of need. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself before I even read the scriptures, but as we read this story, I want you to put yourself in that crowded street, possibly on your knees because you're so weak you can't stand on your own 2 feet. You put yourself in that need, in that moment. Found your place in Luke's Gospel, chapter 8. We're going to start reading verse 40. Luke's Gospel, chapter 8, verse 40. And if you're able, physically able and willing, would you please stand in honor and reverence to God's holy and inspired word. And it came to pass that when Jesus was returned to the people, gladly received him. More better up here. Start over. And it came to pass that when Jesus was returned, the people gladly received him, for they were waiting for him. And behold, there came a man named Jairus. He was a ruler of the synagogue, and he fell down at Jesus' feet and besought him that he would come into his house, for he had one only daughter, about 12 years of age, and she lay a dying. But as he went, the people thronged him, and a woman having an issue of blood 12 years, which had spent all her living upon physicians, neither could be healed of any, came behind him and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her issue of blood was staunched. And Jesus said, "Who touched me?" When all denied, Peter and they that were with him said, "Master, the multitude thronged thee and pressed thee, and sayest thou, who touched me?" And he said, "Somebody hath touched me, for I perceive that the virtue is gone out of me." And when the woman saw that she was not healed, she came trembling, and falling down before him, she declared unto him before all the people for what cause she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately. And he said unto her, "Daughter, be of good comfort, for thy faith has made thee whole. Go in peace."
Thank you.
And while he yet spake, let's continue reading. While he yet spake, there cometh one from the ruler of the synagogue's house, saying to him, "Thy daughter is dead. Trouble not the master." But when Jesus heard it, he answered him, saying, "Fear not, believe only, and she shall be made whole." And when he came into the house, he suffered no man to go in, save Peter and James and John, and the father and the mother of the maiden. And all wept and bewailed her. But he said, "Weep not, she is not dead, but sleepeth." And they laughed him to scorn, knowing that she was dead. But he put them out and took her by the hand and called, saying, "Maid, arise." And her spirit came again, and she arose straightway. And he commanded to give her meat. And her parents were astonished, but he charged them that they should tell no man what was done. Let us pray. Lord, I thank you so much for this day, this opportunity to stand before your people and open your word. Lord, I pray, I stand today where no man should ever dare stand alone. Lord, I pray you hide me behind your cross. Put your words in my heart and my mouth. Put your thoughts in my brain. That you would allow me to preach to these people, thus say the word of God. Lord, we need you so desperately in this hour that we live. Lord, I pray, as we've said all week, I pray we see Jesus. Lord, we give you honor, glory, and praise. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. You may be seated. I read a little bit more than I was planning to, but maybe we'll get into tying all that together. Because I don't think this is just, sometimes we take the healing of Jairus' daughter and the healing of the lady with the issue of blood as two separate stories that just happen to be mixed in together. But we see that if you read that Jairus comes and says, I have a 12-year-old daughter that's dying. And then you read the very next verse that says, a lady had an issue of blood for 12 years. For 12 years, Jairus and his house had light. We had this week at Vacation Bible School children out here, just a massive amount of children, and they brought so much light and joy.
Amen.
Now, yes, me and Jessica, we picked up our three little nieces each night. We had them, we took them home. They bring light, they bring joy, a lot of fun, but they also make you tired.
Yeah. Amen.
We'll be honest with you, it was tiring. I asked Shannon and Bree in Sunday school when we walked out, I said, "Do y'all have VBS jet lag Saturday?" They all did. I mean, it was just, you know, you get so used to going, and then you finally stop, and you're like, wow, I can't believe I just made it through that week. But children bring light into your life. They love perfectly. They love you just because you're there. Until we ruin them and corrupt some of them. We teach them to be like us. The children bring light, and for 12 years, Jairus had light and love and happiness in his home through his little girl. And then all of a sudden, she gets sick, and to the point of death. Then we see, on the other hand, this lady with the issue of blood. She had a medical issue. She was a desperate woman. We see her desperation. But for 12 years, she lived in agony. She lived in isolation because she was ceremonial. I can't even, my inner tongue's getting in the way. But she was spiritually unclean because she had an issue of blood. And by the Jewish law, she could not go into the temple and worship because of her illness. For 12 years, she lived in pain and agony and poverty after she'd spent her living to get somebody to help her, to no avail. We look and we see two very contrasting lifestyles here. A life of joy and happiness, and a life of loneliness, and isolation, and misery. For 12 years. Then on the very same day, both of them finally realized what they needed. You know, each one of us, I don't know how many's in this room right now, but I guarantee you the number of situations and struggles equals the number of people in this room. Nobody has something that's identical to what I'm going through. Nobody has something identical to what you're going through. But it goes to show you just this little part of Scripture. That it doesn't matter if your life's been going smoothly, well. Jairus was a leader in the synagogue. That means he was a profitable man. He had high status in society. And he had a child that he loved. It doesn't matter how smoothly your life goes, there's going to come a point where you need Jesus Christ.
Yes, right.
And when you look at the woman with the issue of blood, it doesn't matter how many potholes and mistakes you've made in life, how bad your life is, how even that your life is so bad that the religious crowd doesn't even want to be around you. Jesus Christ is still willing to stop what he's doing and minister to you.
Amen.
To love you.
Amen.
So I want to take Satan off the back porch right now and getting in the back door of your mind and saying, well, what you're going through is different than what the rest of this crowd in this room is going through. You know, I overheard Brother Esley and Brother Race talking in the hallway this week. I didn't even mention their comment. But Brother Race, I walked out of the hall, into the hall, and I heard Brother Race tell Brother Esley this. This place is not a museum for the saints. You know, we oftentimes, we like to put plaques up and like, well, Brother so-and-so donated this window, and Sister so-and-so paid to have this part built onto the, and we put nice little plaques, and I'm not preaching against plaques. If you want to put plaques up, that's fine. But you get your reward when you publicize what you've done.
Yeah.
That's right. Amen.
But he says, this place is not a museum for the saints. It's a hospital for the sinners.
Amen.
Every one of us is in this place this morning, not because there was something good that we could contribute, but there was a point in our life where we said, hey, I'm making a mess of it.
Amen.
And I need something bigger than myself.
Yes.
I need something. Every one of us come through this place or another church at some time or another, not because we had anything to offer, but because there was something being preached and taught inside the four walls of this building that says, I need a Savior, and we come looking for it.
Amen.
Jairus didn't send a servant. Jairus went to Jesus, a man of his status, saying, I know the whole rest of my crowd that I hang out with, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they're trying to slip you up. They're trying to kill you. They don't want you here. They're aggravated with you. But I'm in such a desperate need in my life right now that I need you, Jesus.
Amen.
Can we see this woman isolated, destitute? She fights through the crowd just that she says, if I could just touch the border of his clothes. Dr. Warren Wordsman, he says that this woman's faith was borderline superstitious. You know, we have a lot of superstitious people now. They have lucky rabbit's foot, and you hang around a baseball player and they won't step on chalk lines and stuff. That's what he's referring to. But the woman's faith wasn't in I truly believe this woman did not believe that Jesus just had magical powers dropping off of him, that she could just touch him. He wasn't a relic. I see him kind of how I pray. So I see her thoughts, kind of like how I have thoughts. Crab Family, they sing a song kind of speaks to this, called Would You Please Come Down With Me? It says, I'm trying to remember the lyrics. It talks about how we can't go to Jesus. We're not worthy to stand before him in his presence and ask anything. And I can see her in that street just like me, how I pray sometimes. Lord, I don't need nothing big. I just need you.
Yeah.
I just need a moment of your time. I know there's so many other things that are going on in this world that by comparison, by worldly standards, my need is insignificant. There's children right now that are starving in other countries. There's children starving in our country right now. And there's so many needs. There's things being done to children and people that it just, I would never imagine it. But it's in our newspapers. It's in our headlines every day. Horrific things. When you start to talk with some of our senior members and the things they have to go through with their health and stuff, my headaches don't seem that bad. When we come to Christ and we think of that and say, Lord, there's so much more need than what I've got. Lord, I just need a little time with you, a little peace. I just need a little bit. Let me tell you something. A little bit of Jesus is a lot better than a whole lot of anything.
Amen. Amen.
Yes.
This woman was desperate enough. You ever been in a crowd before? A throng of people? We had a little girl this week, they were going out to go to classes, and she got down on the floor, and I'm like, baby, that's not where you want to be. When you got a crowd of people moving in one direction, especially when they say it's food time, you do not want to be on the floor because they will trample over you. This woman put herself in danger to get to Jesus. We see her desperation. We also see her determination. It says she come down behind him and touched the border of his garment. What's some of the conditions that she, she was a good Baptist, she'd probably say, well, that crowd's surrounding him, he's busy right now. They asked two of his disciples, and the disciples are kind of smarting off to him already. Or there's a bunch of people around you. And you say, who talk? I wonder, is people ever deterred from Jesus because they're afraid of what his followers might say to them? How his followers might accept him? We're not here because we have it all together. We're not here because I'm not standing before you today because Jessica dresses me nice. It don't matter. It doesn't matter if I was up here in my little In the Wild t-shirt and shorts. Now, some of you might have a cardiac on that, or do that. Some of you might get a little disgruntled, but it does not matter. As long as Brother Jimmy says, as long as I'm covered, I'm good. But how many people have you ever run into and invited to church and they say, well, how do I need to dress? Now, I believe you should wear, if you would wear a suit and tie to your friend's wedding, I believe you should dress appropriately to come to God's house.
Amen.
I believe if you would go into a job interview and you're comfortable going into a job interview with raggedy shorts and a holy shirt, first of all, good luck.
Yeah.
But no, we won't do that. We wouldn't go all out and we wouldn't go buy a new suit, but we wear the best thing we have.
Yes, right.
And when you say, well, we're more laid back, I understand that. There's churches that are a little bit more lax. We don't have a dress code here. We don't. I've read your bylaws.
Yeah.
I ain't found the dress code either. Just be covered. But it's an attitude of what we come to do in this place. Reflects what we do. If you work a job and you say, well, I don't have time to get home and clean and wash on Wednesday night to come and be with God's people, you come in once you work in.
Amen.
Nurses come in your scrubs.
Yeah.
Amen.
Construction workers, you come in your overalls and whatever. Some of you smell a little too much, we'll put you in the A&M corner and separate you. But it's all right, you come.
Amen.
We put too much emphasis on that. And how many people have you talked with before that say, well, I don't know what to wear out there. Or if I wear this, will it be fine? We talk more about clothes in the church than we do about Christ.
Yeah.
We talk about people's habits more than we talk about who can change our habits.
Amen.
We won't say, well, I'd love for them to start coming to church, but they need to clean up their act. No, they need to come to church, meet Christ, and Christ will clean up their act.
That's right.
Amen.
That lady didn't sit on the side of the road and say, well, if I could ever get spiritually and ceremoniously clean and I could get healed, then I could go talk with Jesus. She says, no, I am in need, I am filthy, I am wretched, I am poor and destitute, and I need him now.
Amen.
We want to get everything cleaned up.
Yeah.
Come on, praise you, Lord.
As followers, we want everybody to look like we do.
Come on.
We want them to say and know that that's one of my hardest things in my personal ministry of witnessing is learning that everybody did not grow up in the Bible Belt.
That's right.
That's right.
Everybody doesn't know exactly what you mean when you say born again
Yeah.
or saved.
Yeah.
They don't have the same thing. And some, I have to watch how I talk to people, not to confuse them. I run into that with my job all the time. And I know how it feels to get in and talk with somebody when they just talk over your head.
Yeah.
Had a doctor, maybe about a year and a half ago, I was in talking with him about some stuff. I'm like, okay. And he went on for about a 15-minute little speech about everything that was wrong with me. When he could have just said, you're overweight and you need to move on. When he got done talking with me, I said, all right, now you can tell that to me in English where I can understand it. So many times we get to people, oh yes, I'm an associate pastor at Dogwood Hill Baptist Church. Let me talk to you in such a way that you don't even understand it.
Yeah.
Some of us either change our voice or when we talk about spiritual things, like we're speaking with stained glass vocal cords. Well, the Lord is good, isn't he? When we say all these things, especially when we go to hospital visits and stuff like that, we're supposed to be super spiritual. People see that message
Yes, they do.
a mile away. I know I've talked about it all the time. Jessica probably wishes I would talk about it. When we lost Abe, I had those moments before that. I didn't want somebody to come in there and be a preacher. I didn't want somebody to come in there and quote scripture for me, text to me, scripture. And I wasn't mad. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, but I was mad a little bit. I was human. That's right.
Yeah. Amen.
But I need someone to be real with me.
Amen.
Someone that can let me be real.
Yeah.
So oftentimes when we walk in and we're all super spiritual, they feel like they got to be all super
Yeah,
spiritual.
right.
That's why I don't publicize that I'm a pastor. Not that I'm ashamed of the ministry. Brother Mickey, as soon as they put that label of preacher on you, everybody wants to talk to you about church. It's like the lady at the well. As soon as she perceived that Jesus was a rabbi or a spiritual leader, she's going to talk about where you're supposed to have church. I want people to meet me as Brandon.
Amen.
So they can relate to Brandon and realize Brandon goes through the same amount of mess they go through every day. We go through the same things. But I'm thankful I don't have to go through them anymore.
Amen.
Because there was a day when I realized I was just like this woman on the street. And I needed a Savior.
Amen.
I made a mess of it. I continue to make a mess of it. If we're all honest, we can all amen that for ourselves.
Yeah, go ahead.
We make a mess of it. I have a Savior that can fix it. Sister Gail, she was sharing with me and Brother Eddie up here. And she was disappointed that they weren't able to do her surgery because of the infection.
Yeah.
Brother Eddie, he goes, well, God don't need the doctor to fix it. He don't. We serve a God, they never have to put a scalpel in that lady's back. He can fix her.
Amen.
Now, we ain't in it. We believe it in our life. Say, Jesus, would you do it for me? This lady, she stepped out in her desperation and determination. She reached out and touched and got her miracle. Then we see her deliverance, her miracle. It says immediately. I pointed this out in one of our Bible lessons in VBS this week in our young adult class. When Jesus does something, it happens immediately.
Yeah, he does.
Now, there isn't a process. Jesus doesn't have a program or a 12-step that he's going to walk you through. Now, there's things in our life that we have to deal with and we have to work on. That's called sanctification.
That's right.
There's an ongoing process of developing spiritually.
Amen.
But you don't get the Holy Spirit in sections. You don't go to a conference and get his ankles in one conference. You don't go and do a workout and get his legs in this and another one. When we accept Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, we get every bit of the Holy Spirit, every bit of the heirship of Christ Right at that moment.
Amen.
There's nothing but, now our spiritual living, we go through a process of maturing. I'm not going to expect somebody to come down and get saved one Sunday and be standing up behind the pulpit the next Sunday, even though that has happened. Paul, he was preaching and he was still blind. I mean, Paul was preaching as soon as from the word go almost, but he still had some maturing and learning to do that God provided.
Yeah, but he also knew the law and the old scriptures, the Old Testament.
Yes.
He was already there.
But Paul had in his hand the orders to kill with all that knowledge in his mind. But as soon as he met Jesus on the road to Damascus, that knowledge he had in his mind immediately become clear what he was doing.
Amen.
Jesus does something. He does it immediately.
Amen.
And he doesn't do it half-hearted. He doesn't do it halfway. He doesn't slack off and just say, well, it's done.
Yeah.
How many times we do that? Well, it's done. I know I do that a lot. You just had something at the house, Brother Austin. I've got y'all want to see what a Walmart's husband handyman starter kit looks like? I've got it right there because I left it out here at PDS. It's got a little power tool, power drill, a little level about that long, little tape measure, you know. And Austin, he's Mr. Contractor. He comes through and he just kind of giggles at me a little bit. But I've got enough there to get it done. I've got just enough there to get the picture on the wall where it satisfies my wife.
Yeah.
I've got just enough there. Jesus doesn't do just enough. He doesn't come in and say, well, I want to help you turn your life around. He comes in and he says, I want to completely transform your life. I want to completely change everything about you. Not because I don't love you as you are, but I love you enough not to leave you as you are.
Amen.
We see this lady's deliverance. We see in our own life, our personal testimony, our deliverance when we accepted Jesus Christ. Imagine where you would be if you never went into the service that you gave your life to Christ. Imagine where would you be if God didn't put someone in your life to share Jesus with you. Possibilities are endless and scary.
Yeah.
We were delivered, those of us who profess Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Then lastly, we see the woman's declaration. Scripture says, if I can find it, in verse 47. And when the woman saw that she was not hid, quick tidbit, you can never serve Jesus in the shadows.
That's right. Amen.
You will never give him glory in the shadows. That's why we practice public profession in our Baptist denomination. We say, when we accept the Lord Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, we make it publicly known. Now, we don't have to get up and have a big 30-minute speech on it. This woman, I don't imagine she did very much more than what Scripture records. But in verse 47 it says, when she saw she was not hid, she came trembling and falling down before him. She declared unto him before all the people for what cause she touched him. She told them of her sickness and how she was healed immediately.
Amen.
She gave her testimony. She gave witness and glory to Christ.
Amen.
When we experience our deliverance, we're supposed to give our declaration.
Amen.
And not just one time. We share it everywhere we go.
Amen.
When you're sitting there and you're talking with a coworker who's made a mess of their life, you tell them about your mess. And you tell them where God delivered you from. Only by his shed blood, his forgiveness on the cross, we ever be saved.
That's right.
Nothing else we can do. We can't turn over a good leaf. We can't sign up for all the different activities and expect to get enough credit to get in. We have to plead his blood your issues. Get to Jesus. Today, I don't know what's in your heart. I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know what you come in here with. But I know there's nothing that God doesn't know that's going on in the lives of these people in this room. Now we see a picture of a crowd around Jesus. The disciples bear witness that everybody was bumping in and touching Jesus. Many of them pressed him, but only one of them touched him.
Amen.
You can be in the crowd, you can be hearing all the Jesus stuff you want. You can have all the things. Let me tell you something, the crowd's the worst place to be. But one of them pressed through the crowd and actually had a one-on-one encounter with Christ. Many were there. Many were going through the ritual. Many of them were going through and being around where the action is. There's only one of them in this instance, in that crowd, touched Jesus. I don't know what you're going through this morning. I don't know where you got up from this morning. I don't know what you left this morning. I don't know what you've done. I don't know what's on your public record. I don't know anything. But I know a man named Jesus who's passing through this sanctuary right now. And he's extending his hand, his offering, to come, repent of your sins, and be saved in his name. Will the circumstances you left at home be gone when you get back? No, probably not. But he'll give you strength and peace to go through them. He'll give you guidance to make better decisions. He'll give you a church family to love you and support you, to stand behind you, grow you. We talked this morning, our Sunday school lessons on mentoring. Brothers and sisters, saints, who are you mentoring this morning? Who are you pouring your life into this morning? I don't know how this response is going to go. But lady, Sister Gail, y'all come up. Here's just a few verses of invitation. But if you're here this morning, you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, I beg you, I implore you, come. Accept him today. We'll be glad to talk with you. We've got others here that will be glad to talk with you and share with you. You don't have to just talk to the pastor to hear somebody share about the Lord Jesus. Each and every one of us should be ready.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're here today and you say, Brandon, I profess to be a Christian, but I've forgotten where I come from. I need to glorify him for what he's done. Brandon, I've tried to serve Jesus in the shadows, in the midst of the crowd. I wonder why my spiritual life hasn't had that zeal about it that I see others, because I haven't made a declaration of what Christ has done in my life. Would you come? Do that this morning. Do what God's prompting on your heart right now. Be faithful in his cause.